Welcome to the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast. I'm Tori Mystic. As a dog mom lifestyle expert, blogger, and business owner, I love talking to other women in the pet industry and sharing their advice with you every week. Sit, stay, and listen to the latest episode. Hello, and welcome to another solo episode of the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast. I hope you're having a really amazing end of the year, and I'm excited to give you a special episode today to kind of wrap up 2021. In this episode, I am giving you an inside look at the most recent lesson from Wear, Wag, Repeat Society, my membership that helps you grow your pet business online. In this lesson, I explain the why and how of doing a year in review audit of your business. As solopreneurs and small businesses, it's really hard to audit yourself sometimes. But reflecting on what worked and what didn't in the past year will make 2022 all the more successful and fulfilling. Each month in Wear, Wag, Repeat Society, I teach a new lesson to help you grow your pet business online. Enrollment will be open for a very limited time at the beginning of January. So get on the wait list and learn more at wearwagrepeat.com/society. I also want to mention that I have a free workshop coming up that will help you set goals for 2022. It's called K9 in 90, and it will help you set 9 goals for your pet and your pet business for the first 90 days of the year. I hosted this last year and everyone loved it, so you don't want to miss this. It's happening on Thursday, January 6th, live at 7 p.m. Eastern. Save your spot for that at wearwagrepeat.com/K9 in 90. Or if you're not sure how that's spelled, go to the link in my Instagram bio at Wear, Wag, Repeat. Now, before I hit play on this lesson that you're about to hear, I want to give you a few little disclaimers. You may hear me mention a bonus PDF, a virtual co-working session, hot seats, and a Q&A. Those are exclusive to Wear, Wag, Repeat Society members, and they will be happening every month next year. If you're curious to learn more and you want to work alongside more than 70 women in the pet industry, get on the wait list at wearwagrepeat.com/society. Membership will be open for a very limited time at the beginning of January. Okay, now let's hear how to do this year in review. Welcome to another month in Wear, Wag, Repeat Society. I am so excited about this month because 1, we've made it all the way to December. Congratulations, you've done an amazing job this year. And 2, I'm really excited because this month's theme is a year in review. So that means we get to look back at all of the amazing things that I know you have accomplished this year. So we're going to talk about how to do a year in review. I see that a lot of solopreneurs and small business owners probably don't do this kind of a thing. I find that when you really have nobody to report to, which a lot of us don't, it's really hard to conduct this kind of self-imposed reporting. But I'm going to tell you why it's important and how to do one. And I'm here to support you so we can all get this done and build ourselves and set ourselves up for a really awesome next year. So a few reasons why it's really important to do a year in review is it will help you track and achieve your goals. I'm always saying that if you don't set goals, you're not going to know if you have achieved them. So it's important to set your goals and then look back at the year and see how you did. You'll also get a chance to look back at all that you've accomplished this year. I find that when I do this exercise, sometimes I do it in the summer, sometimes I do it in the winter, that I'm always shocked at how much I've actually done. I pack a lot into one year. And then 3, it will also help you think bigger for next year to keep growing and improving your business. I think at the end, I'll talk about how to kind of use this year in review to plan for next year. And you're going to see that your hopes and your dreams and your goals are even bigger than they've ever been before. So in today's video lesson, we are going to cover kind of 4 sections. So the first one is I'll talk about the tools and time that you need to do a year in review for your business, whether you have a small little tiny business, it's just you, like mine, or if you have a bigger business, we'll talk about what you need to do this. We'll also talk about how to take an inventory of your work. Then I'll go over the key questions that you need to ask yourself and the numbers that you need to look at to do this. And then finally, the 4th part of this lesson will explain how to use this information to plan for next year. As always, there is a bonus PDF available to download right below this video. It will help you do this annual review and maybe even help you have some fun doing it. So as always, I am reading notes off of the screen, so I hope that is okay with everyone. In order to make this as organized as possible, I have to read the notes. So let's dive in. First up, tools and time. You might want to set aside a few hours or maybe even an entire day to do this review. I encourage you to dedicate at least 1 hour to this review. I think that would be like the bare minimum amount of time. Of course, you could spend a whole week doing this if you're really busy and you do a lot of things and you have a team and a big business. But no matter what size business you have, just set aside some amount of time and put it on your calendar right now. Now, once the time is set aside on your calendar, I want you to kind of get your tools ready. We're going to need some things in order to do this review. So you're going to need to look back at your calendar or your planner, your emails. I often look at my camera roll because that reminds me of a lot of the things that I did throughout the year. You'll also want to get your accounting software or your bank statements ready so that you can look at all of this data and all the projects and everything that you did in one place. Whatever it is that helps you get a clear look at what you've done in the last year, get all this stuff organized so that you are ready for that time you've set aside on your calendar. Next, with the time set aside and all your tools ready, you can take an inventory of the year. So we usually think of inventory as like physical things, but we're going to look at an inventory of all the projects and all the things that you did this year. Maybe you sell products, maybe you don't, but inventory is kind of the word that we're going to use to describe this. So I want you to start making your inventory list by listing out what you did in your business every month this year. So did you have a big event or a special sale? Did you sign a new sponsor or a big client? Did you introduce a new product or service? Did you have a blog post or a video go viral? These are all the kind of things that you can list out for each month from January up until now to get an inventory of everything that you had going on this year. This might take you a little while to do. That's why I said set aside some time on your calendar. And maybe before you head to the next step, you might want to take a look at this list and just celebrate how awesome you are. I bet that you wrote down things that you totally forgot even doing. That always happens to me when I do this. Now, once you have your list ready, we are going to consider how these things performed and served you. We're running a business here, right? So you want to consider what projects, products, or services made you money, but you might also want to consider how they served you in other ways. So I like to ask myself if things on my inventory did one of 3 things for me. Did they make me money? That's important. Did they get me exposure? That's also super valuable. Or 3, did they bring me a lot of joy? So don't forget to don't leave that out of the list. Remember that sometimes things that bring you joy have a lot of value to your business and to your life. They don't necessarily have to be bringing in the big bucks, but you do have to make money somehow. Otherwise, you're running a charity and not a business. So some other metrics that you might want to look at when you're going over your inventory are maybe new followers gained, like if something went viral or something like that. an increase in your open rate or your click rate in your emails, podcast downloads, sales of products or services. It can also help you when you're going through this to maybe ask questions. Instead of just looking at these metrics, sometimes I like to kind of form it as a question, and that helps me evaluate everything in my inventory. Those questions could be something such as, what are you most proud of? Did something on the list lead to new relationships, partnerships, etc.? What on your list took the most time to produce? And what took the least time? If you could stop one thing, what would it be? And if you could only do one thing, what would that be? So asking yourself these questions and really looking at the metrics and all of it together is going to give you a clear idea of what projects really served you in a multitude of ways and what served your audience this past year. Definitely make sure that you are looking at the money for all of these things because, like I said, if you're not making money, then you're a charity and that's all good and fine, but even charities have to make money. So some key numbers to look at are the revenue from a particular product or service, then the expenses associated with that product or service, and any overhead that you have like web hosting, rent, etc. Alternatively, you can also look at a bigger picture of revenue and expenses like monthly or for a whole revenue stream. For example, in my business, I would want to look and see how much money my online store makes per month. But I also want to see what individual products performed best. Likewise, if you are a dog walker or pet sitter, you can look at your monthly revenue, but you should also track individual walks versus overnights and see how those two services compare and which one was great and which one wasn't. Or maybe they're all great. I don't know. That's part of the process. Okay, now at this point in the whole yearly review, you might want to take a break and split this up into 2 days or maybe a morning and an afternoon session. I think that a lot of clarity can come from letting this information sit. But if you want to plow right through, I'm going to tell you the next step right now. So feel free to break up this time however it works for you. When you are ready, get your list back out and ask yourself what really worked and what didn't. So the first step was really just making a list of what you did and then making little notes next to everything of like the metrics of it. Now I want you to go over that whole list as a big picture and see what worked and what didn't. You have so much information now about what brought you joy, exposure, or money, and what you enjoyed doing, or what took a ton of time. You'll be able to see if there were projects in the last year that you absolutely loved, but they actually ended up costing you money. Or maybe there's something that you put very little time into, and it was actually very profitable. Look at this list and see if there's any surprises. Whenever I do this, there's always at least one thing that is like a hidden gem that I decide to polish up and focus on the next year. By doing a year in review like this, I've also been able to identify things that made me decent money, but took so much time, stressed me out, and made me really unhappy. And those things didn't make the cut for the next year. This brings me to the final part of this lesson. Now keep in mind, you might want to break this up yourself over a couple different days, but here's the final part of this lesson. When you are ready, look at the projects, products, or services that you've identified as home runs and start to put them on your calendar for next year. That's right, we're just going to dive into it. If you need time to plan an event, put that on your calendar and then work backwards and block off time a few months leading up to it. If you want to get your amazing products into the hands of more pet parents, think about a marketing plan and how much time you're going to need to implement that leading up to whatever kind of launch or event or sale that you're planning for next year. Maybe doing this year in review made me realize that things that happened should have happened in a different order. So here's our chance to kind of lay out all of next year and put things in the most strategic order for next year. You can plan that all out right now. So I want to just give a little word of caution. You can spend a ton of time doing this planning. But to make it more manageable, I suggest taking a broad approach and not getting too hung up on all the little details, because you're going to have plenty of time to work on all the little details next year. For now, we just want to kind of cast broad strokes. The final piece of this lesson that I want to leave you with is this. Decide what products, projects, or services that you really want to prioritize in the first month or 90 days of the new year. So as you're putting together this whole calendar, really focus on what needs to happen first. And see if there's anything that you want to do in January, February, March that might require you to hire extra help or ask for extra help. Is there anything that you need to take an online course or get a new certification for? Is there anything that you need to source materials for? Just by getting a plan together and getting organized with that, you are going to set yourself up for success from January 1st. Okay? How does this all sound? Let's review what I just covered. So step 1 is to set aside some time and gather the tools that you need to do this review. Step 2 is to take an inventory of your work from the year. Just list everything out. Next, you're going to ask yourself questions and look at the data to see how things performed. After you've done all those 3 things, number 4 is to decide what is coming with you into the new year and what is never happening again. During this review, or even if you're just getting started with it, it is easier to do it with a supportive community. So don't forget that we are here for you in Wear, Wag, Repeat Society. You can join us for co-working on the 2nd Wednesday of this month, and make sure to add to your calendar the 4th Wednesday of this month. We will do our new hot seats / Q&A format that's been a hit the last few months. And as always, there is a bonus PDF below this video to help you do this year in review audit. Grab that and comment below or in the Facebook group if you need any help. And I promise you, this is such a practical and helpful lesson. Don't skip this. If you've skipped any month, I don't care. Don't skip this month. Sound good? All right. Good luck to you.
What did you like most about this episode? Find me on Instagram at @TeamMystic and let me know what intrigued you or what questions you have about starting or growing your own dog-inspired business. You can also screenshot this episode and tag me in your stories. I love to see who is listening out there. Some of the best conversations happen after the episode, right? So track me down over on Instagram or join the Wear, Wag, Repeat Labs Facebook group to connect with other dog-obsessed entrepreneurs. And as always, you can find all the links and resources discussed in this episode at wearwagrepeat.com/podcast. See you back here next week.